Hello, my name is Courtney Roberts, and I'm CEO of Moonshot Global. Before I begin, a big thank you to the Impact Investment Advisory Board and TED University for organizing and hosting this summit. I am grateful to join fellow IMM strategists, practitioners, and investors, and to have the opportunity to share Moonshot's experiences on this panel. I founded Moonshot in 2014 to help ensure that sustainability and impact are at the core of investment and development finance, and to do so as a voice calling for IMM and assurance rigor, balanced by pragmatism. With the wider range of actors from the public, private, and third sectors coming together to deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals, to fill the staggering $4 trillion gap in sustainable development finance, it is essential that standards and frameworks be supported by tools and approaches at each step in the investment or project cycle. I will address two key questions in this presentation to provide insights into the challenge of post-investment IMM. The first question is, how does Moonshot assist investors and organizations in effectively measuring and assessing the long-term impact of their initiatives? And the second, how can this assistance be tailored to meet the needs and expectations of each client? First, measuring and assessing long-term impact and outcomes starts at the earliest stages, even before making the investment or starting the project. It starts by working to embed impact processes based on a set of IMM practice standards throughout the investment or project cycle, and to do so at the portfolio, program, and investment or project levels. This is the ideal approach, no matter the type of client, investment strategy, or asset class. If IMM practice follows foundational processes that are articulated across the various standards, then measuring long-term outcomes and impact is simply a final step to verify the impact performance of the investment or project. A final step that answers the very important question, are your investments or projects generating the social impact they promised? Unlike for IMM practice, there are not widely accepted standards for measuring impact performances at this stage. There also is not much alignment on what are acceptable levels of impact performance or what value to place on impact. There are a number of organizations working on aspects of these challenges, including my fellow panelists. Moonshot's approach to impact performance verification is based on a pragmatic approach to applying rigorous evaluation standards to impact investing. Moonshot's methodology is a mixed methods approach that combines three fundamental elements. Now let's move over to some slides to visualize the steps. 3 steps are conducting a desk review, assessing data quality and verifying the impact, and calculating a value for the impact. Additional considerations are assessing the risk of negative externalities, identifying corrective actions, and submitting a verification report to the client. Let's dig a little deeper in each of the steps. First, we conduct a desk review of existing monitoring data that are associated with the review. This includes all relevant investment or project documentation. For example, the impact thesis or theory of change, key performance indicators, stakeholder engagement information, beneficiary data, etc. On the side of this slide, also are listed key questions to answer in reviewing this data. The second step is a combination of a data quality assessment and verification of data. We assess data for quality, context, and completeness against an objective set of data validity and reliability questions drawn from best practice. We then conduct a qualitative and quantitative review of what investment or project beneficiaries say about what they have experienced. What can be linked in some way to the intervention that was supported by the investment or project? Ideally, this would be done using a statistically valid sample and in person, but budget and timeline often limits this step to a smaller number of respondents or to remote data collection. There are methodological limitations to truncating this step, but I can say definitively that some verification is far better than skipping this step over concerns that the sample isn't statistically significant. Those first two steps we view as a minimal approach to verification of impact performance. We also include a third element in our approach, applying expertise to review evidence against standards and provide a value for the impact. We recommend that the value be composed of an evidence-based monetization of the impact that can be verified and then adjusted up or down based on the application of the social value placed on the impact by the beneficiary. We apply Social Value International's methodology to measure this. Taking this approach consistently across investments may help investors compare the relative value of their impact portfolio and inform their investment decisions. Now I'll stop sharing and I'll provide you with two examples of how we applied the methodology. First was for a private sector impact investor who was using a pay-for-results approach in the water and sanitation sector. We conducted an independent verification of impact for this client following their methodology. We had to make some compromises from our comprehensive approach, which they recognized, but they were constrained with resources. Their mechanism pays investees for results against pre-agreed metrics and targets, and our job as impact performance verifier was to review the investees' data collection processes and the data quality against data verification standards. They chose to have us use the Donor Committee for Enterprise Development's checklist. We then supplemented the investees' data with field visits to conduct a small sample of face-to-face interviews to sense check the data. It was not statistically significant, but it definitely was direct to beneficiary communication. Then we wrote up the findings and any corrective actions, and we made recommendations on whether the investees should receive full or partial payment for their performance. A second case was one of a public sector client who engaged us to develop a portfolio-level impact framework across all of their development finance activities and to prioritize a core set of what we called apex metrics, which they wished to create and use to aggregate performance across their entire portfolio. The apex indicators were a small number relative to the total number that were tracked by the individual investments, and our main work was harmonizing the metrics across all of the individual investments and then benchmarking impact performance by reviewing the available data against other verified sources. This was a significant effort, primarily because the work to establish the common set of indicators, the apex indicators at the portfolio level, had not been done up front. So we had to conduct a data call from existing implementing partners managing the investments, retrofit the data, and build consensus around what were the most important metrics. We also suggested some new metrics that hadn't been consistently captured by all investments, and that required some primary data collection. Among the apex indicators we proposed was an overall measure of effectiveness that we articulated as, did the projects achieve the outcomes they set out to achieve? This question enabled the client to more easily aggregate performance on outcomes across a diverse portfolio. After we completed the exercise, the client declared that they were then ready to establish a more consistent approach to going deeper and verifying post-investment impact performance by conducting a spot check on the data from investments, validating those results, capturing beneficiary feedback on them. That sums up the examples that I wanted to share. And I really wanted to thank you for attention as I described our approach to impact performance verification. I'd like to wrap up by saying that impact performance verification is very complex and not yet widespread, but it's a key mechanism to avoid impact washing and ensure accountability to the different stakeholders that investors and investees engage with. I hope that you found this presentation interesting and that you can have a takeaway or two that you can apply to your own work. I also want to emphasize that impact performance verification not only backs up claims through independent review, but it also provides investors and investees with information that can be applied to learning and improvement, and ultimately to inform the delivery of impact, not only that's been intended, but that has actually been verifiably delivered. Thank you so much.